I heard it before she knew I was in the house. I am leaving him, Mom. I cannot stay married to a schoolteacher with hands like a carpenter anymore. I deserve more. Dylan says I can co-host his podcast. The grocery bag in my hand suddenly felt twice as heavy. A carton of milk. A few apples. The chocolate-covered almonds Brittany always asked for, the expensive kind. I stood still in the hallway while my mind raced ahead, picking through every word she said. And honestly, Brittany continued, using that flat, dismissive tone she saved for talking about me with her mother. I do not want to drag him along when I launch my lifestyle channel. I need freedom, financial and social. Linda's voice crackled through the speakerphone. Honey, I told you from the start he was a stepping stone. A decent man, but not husband material for someone like you. You need connections. You need ambition. I know, Mom. You were right. Brittany laughed, light and girlish. I used to love that sound. Now it felt empty. Anyway, I already found us an apartment. Dylan is helping with the deposit. I am telling Mark tomorrow. I set the groceries on the hall table, quiet as I could. Water dripped from my jacket and pooled around my boots. I turned, eased the door open, and slipped back outside without a sound. Only when I reached my workshop did I let myself think. I sat in the mahogany chair I had been building on weekends for months. No yelling, no scene, no broken dishes. Just a hard, steady calm settling in while I watched rain run off the gutters I had installed last summer. Oddly, my first thought was not about Brittany's plan or the fact that my marriage was breaking apart. I heard Grandpa Henry in my head, from the day before he passed. His old hand squeezed mine with surprising strength. Patience, Mark. Make the right move at the right time. That is how the Harris men have lasted. I was 40 years old, about to learn whether there was any of him in me. The next morning, Brittany walked into the kitchen in the silk robe I bought for our 5th anniversary. Blonde hair perfect, even fresh out of bed. I was dressed for work like always, button-down shirt and slacks, pouring coffee. She stopped short when she saw me. She must have figured I would be gone already. Morning, Brittany, I said, keeping my voice even. Coffee? Sure, she said, studying my face. I slid a cup across the counter. She held it like it might break. Mark, we need to talk. I figured, I said and took a sip. About you leaving me? Her eyes went wide. The cup froze halfway to her lips. How did you? I came home early yesterday, I said. I heard you on speaker with your mother. Oh, the word hung there. To her credit, she did not lie or try to spin it. She pulled her shoulders back and met my eyes. Then you know, she said. I think we should get divorced. I agree, I said. That was not the script she expected. She had prepared for tears, or begging, or a fight. Calm threw her off. You agree? Yes. We want different things. There is no point in dragging it out. She hesitated, then tried to make it gentle. We could do this amicably. No long court battle. No mess. Fine by me, I said. You can have everything. The house, the car, the dog, even that dinnerware set of your mother's that you like. Her eyes narrowed. Everything, everything. I do not want any of it. I will take my tools and my personal things. A flicker of triumph crossed her face before she smoothed it into concern. That is very generous, Mark. Are you sure? I am sure, I said. I rinsed my mug and set it in the sink. I will move out this weekend. I can stay with Chris for a while. She nodded, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. I think that is best. I already spoke with a lawyer. He can draft the papers. If we both agree, this could be finished within a month. Perfect, I said, picking up my keys. Text me the details. I need to get to school. I was almost to the door when she called after me. Mark, are you okay? I gave her a small smile. I will be, Brittany. We both will. The confused look on her face as I closed the door was the first truly satisfying moment I had felt in months. On the drive to Rochester East High School, a light drizzle started, right in step with my mood. The parking lot was half empty. I was earlier than usual. I sat in the car for a minute, watched the raindrops wander down the windshield, and thought about the strange conversation that had just ended my marriage. 8 years, wrapped up in less than 5 minutes over coffee. No shouting, no crying, just logistics. It should have felt wrong or tragic. Instead, it felt like setting down a heavy box I had carried for too long. I unlocked my classroom. It was dark and quiet. I flipped on the lights. Posters of historical figures and maps covered the walls. My classroom was my sanctuary, the one place where I felt fully in control and fully myself. The first students would not arrive for an hour, so I used the time to grade papers, read, comment, mark. The rhythm steadied me. By the time the first bell rang, I had almost set aside the wreckage of my marriage. Almost. "Mr. Harris, are you okay?" The voice came from Emily Parker, one of my sharpest students, as the class filed in for first period. "I am fine, Emily," I said, and this time the smile felt real. "Just a little tired." "You look different today," Emily said as she set her books on the desk. "Like something changed." "Teenagers read adults better than most adults do." "Nothing important," I told her. Now, who can explain the significance of the Treaty of Versailles? Teaching carried me through the day. Inside those four walls, I was not the man about to get divorced. I was Mr. Harris, the history teacher who helps kids make sense of the past. That role is one I chose for myself. It stands apart from my family name or whatever inheritance might drift my way someday. It felt honest in a way Brittany never really understood or respected. During my free period, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Brittany and 1 text message. "Michael Lawson's office, Thursday at 3 o'clock. Please confirm you can make it." I typed a single word, "confirmed," and put the phone away. There was no reason to draw any of this out. Clean. Quick. Done. Michael Lawson turned out to be exactly the kind of attorney I expected Brittany to hire. Perfect suit. Iron handshake. A practiced smile that stopped short of his eyes. His downtown office was all glass and chrome, with a view of the Rochester skyline designed to make clients feel small. "Mr. Harris," he began, sliding a stack of documents toward me. "These are fairly straightforward. As per your agreement with Mrs. Harris, you are relinquishing all claims to the marital home, the vehicles, and the joint accounts. You are also agreeing to waive any claim to alimony." I skimmed each page. "And Brittany keeps her retirement accounts. I keep mine." "That is correct," he said. "Given your profession, I imagine hers is more substantial." The condescension was almost funny, if he only knew. "Anything else?" I asked. Michael glanced at Brittany. She sat primly beside me, ankle crossed, designer purse in her lap. "There is the matter of future earnings," he said smoothly. "Mrs. Harris is on the verge of some exciting career opportunities that could significantly increase her income. We would like assurance that you will not make claims against those earnings later." I fought back a smile. Of course, Dylan's podcast must be quite promising. Brittany stiffened. Michael recovered without missing a beat. "Among other opportunities, yes." "So you agree?" "Absolutely. I want nothing from Brittany's future, and I trust she wants nothing from mine." "That is the idea," he said. "A clean break." He placed a pen in front of me. I took my time, read every line, and then signed where indicated. When I finished, I passed the stack back. "We will file these with the court tomorrow," Michael said. "Given the uncontested nature, everything should be finalized within a few weeks." "Excellent," I said, standing and offering my hand. "Thank you for making this painless." He looked almost disappointed as we shook hands. Men like him make their living on conflict. An amicable divorce is not a big payday. Brittany walked me to the elevator. Away from her lawyer's eyes, her expression slipped. "I never meant to hurt you, Mark." "I know," I said. "You meant to use me until something better came along." Color rose in her cheeks. "That is not fair, is it?" The elevator doors opened. I stepped in. "Goodbye, Brittany. I hope you find what you are looking for." As the doors slid shut on her stricken face, I allowed myself a quiet, private smile. Phase 1 was complete. The next few weeks became a study in careful appearances. I moved into my brother Chris's old hunting cabin outside town, though I told everyone I was staying in his spare room. I drove my backup vehicle, a rusted pickup with manual windows and no air conditioning. I wore my oldest clothes, let my beard come in, and looked like a man who had lost everything and stopped caring. Brittany saw me once by accident at a discount grocery store. I was loading bags into the truck when her sleek BMW pulled in. We locked eyes across the lot. She wore oversized sunglasses and a silk scarf over her hair, like a movie star trying not to be seen. I gave a small nod, climbed into the truck, and pulled away. That evening she texted, "Mark, are you doing okay for money? I can help if you need it." The irony almost made me laugh. I did not answer. Students noticed the changes. The beard, the worn shirts, the tired eyes. There were whispers in the hall. A few colleagues gave kind looks. One afternoon the principal called me in. Mr. Harris, Principal Karen Mitchell said, motioning to the chair across from her desk. Do you have a minute? Please, have a seat. I sat. She folded her hands, calm as ever. I have noticed some changes lately. If you are dealing with anything personal, the school can help. Counseling is available, and we can arrange time away if you need it. I appreciate that, I said. Brittany and I are getting divorced. It is amicable. I moved out while we get things settled. Karen nodded, concerned but never condescending. That steadiness is one of the reasons I respect her. I understand. Your work has not suffered. If anything, a few colleagues say your teaching feels even more engaged. She was right. There was a different kind of air in my lungs now that I was not carrying Brittany's constant expectations. In the classroom, I could be fully present. No bracing for criticism at home. No measuring myself against some polished, imaginary version of a husband on her phone screen. Thank you, I said. Teaching has been my anchor. Good, Principal Karen Mitchell said. Do not forget the school community is here for you, Mark. I left her office carrying two feelings at once. Gratitude for decent people, and a sting of guilt about the picture I was showing the world. The divorce was real. The rough edges I put on display were part of a plan. People like Karen did not deserve the worry, but the disguise mattered. Another line on the ledger of what Brittany's choices had cost. 2 days after I signed the divorce paperwork, my phone rang. A crisp voice I remembered from childhood said, "It is time, Mr. Harris." Samuel Whitaker, my grandfather's attorney. "The waiting period has elapsed," he said. "Your divorce will be final shortly. Your grandfather's instructions can now be carried out." We agreed to meet at the old private bank downtown, the one the Harris family had used for generations. Marble floors, oak paneling, quiet money. It felt nothing like the glass tower where I had signed my marriage away. Whitaker met me in a private conference room with a leather portfolio waiting on the table. He stood and shook my hand. "Mark, it is good to see you. You resemble your grandfather more every year." "Thank you," I said, taking a seat. "I appreciate you keeping this discreet." "Discretion is the Harris way," he said, opening the portfolio. "Your grandfather was very specific. He wanted the family legacy protected, and that included the name strategy we discussed." "The name change," I said. "That was his idea as well." He nodded. "Indeed. When you raised your concerns early in your marriage, he called it a precaution. Moving back to your mother's maiden name, Harris, was a way to shield the assets until everything could be fully secured." My mind went back 5 years. We had been married only a year, and already I could feel Brittany measuring our life against glossy strangers on her phone. Grandpa Henry listened, then suggested the legal shift to Harris, the maternal line, and keeping the family business under that umbrella until the timing was right. "The trust is substantial," Whitaker said, setting out documents. "Your grandfather invested wisely to the very end. The portfolio includes multiple properties across the Northeast, significant equities, and the Harris Family Foundation." I scanned the pages. Zeros stacked until the numbers blurred. 8 figures. More money than I could ever need. "And the condition?" I asked. "Met," he said. "Once the court finalizes the divorce next week, Brittany has no claim to anything bearing the Harris name. At that point, the trust fully activates." Whitaker slid a small envelope across the table. "Your grandfather also left this to be delivered at activation." It felt heavier than it looked. Inside was a single key and a handwritten note in the square, steady letters I knew by heart. "Mark, if you are reading this, you showed the patience and judgment a Harris should. The key opens the lake house study. What you find there is your true inheritance. Use it well. I am proud of you. Grandpa." I put the note back in the envelope and let out a breath. "Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. What comes next?" "Now you set the pace," he said. "The foundation will need attention, board meetings, and investment decisions. None of it is urgent. Your grandfather ensured operations would run smoothly through the transition." I thought for a moment. "I would like to stay quiet for now, at least until the divorce is completely final." "Of course," he said. "There is one complication." He handed me another sheet. "The foundation's annual gala is next month. As the new head of the Harris family, your presence will be expected." I looked at the invitation, the Harris Cultural Heritage Foundation Annual Gala. Black tie. The usual crowd, local politicians, business owners, and people who live for evenings like that. Later that afternoon, I checked in with Principal Mitchell. She motioned toward the chair in front of her desk. Please sit. I took the seat. She laced her fingers together, steady and kind. I have noticed changes lately. If anything personal is going on, we can help. Counseling. Time away. Whatever you need. I appreciate that, I said. Brittany and I are divorcing. It is amicable. I moved out while we sort everything. Karen gave a slow nod, concerned but never talking down to me. That steadiness is part of why I respect her. I understand. Your work has not slipped. If anything, a few colleagues say you seem even more dialed in with your classes. She was not wrong. Without Brittany's constant pressure in my ear, I could breathe in the classroom. I was present with the kids. I was not bracing for criticism at home or measuring myself against some polished, imaginary husband built out of social media. Thank you, I said. Teaching has been my steady ground. Good, she said. Remember, the school community is here for you. I walked out of Principal Mitchell's office carrying two feelings at the same time. I was grateful for decent people. I also felt a pinch of guilt about the picture I was letting everyone see. The divorce was real. The rough edges were part of a plan. People like Karen did not deserve to worry, but the disguise mattered. Another tally on the cost of Brittany's choices. 2 days after I signed the divorce papers, my phone rang. It is time, Mr. Harris, a crisp voice said. I knew it right away. Samuel Whitaker, my grandfather's attorney. The waiting period has passed, he said. Your divorce will be final shortly. Your grandfather's instructions may now be executed. We set a meeting at the old private bank downtown, the same bank our family had used for generations. Marble floors, oak paneling, quiet money. It felt nothing like the glass tower where I signed my marriage away. Whitaker met me in a private room. A leather portfolio sat on the table. He stood, shook my hand, and smiled. Mark, it is good to see you. You look more like your grandfather every year. Thank you, I said, taking a seat. I appreciate the discretion. Discretion is the Harris way, he said, opening the portfolio. Your grandfather left very specific directions. He wanted the family legacy guarded. That included the name plan we discussed. The name change? I asked. That came from him as well. He nodded. Yes. When you brought him your concerns early in the marriage, he called it a precaution. Shifting back to your mother's maiden name, Harris, was a way to shield the assets until they were fully secured. My mind jumped back 5 years. 1 year into the marriage, and I could already feel Brittany's restlessness. The constant comparing. Her screen full of people with shinier lives. Grandpa Henry listened, then told me to make the legal move to Harris and keep the family business tucked under that banner until the time was right. The trust is significant, Whitaker said, placing papers in front of me. Your grandfather invested well right up to the end. The holdings include several properties across the Northeast, substantial stock positions, and the Harris Family Foundation. I read the pages. The zeros ran together until my eyes blurred. 8 figures. More than I would ever need. And the condition? I asked. Met, he said. Once the court finalizes the divorce next week, Brittany has no claim to anything connected to the Harris name. When that happens, the trust fully activates. He slid a small envelope across the table. Your grandfather asked that this be delivered at activation. It felt heavier than it looked. Inside was a single key and a handwritten note in his square, steady script. Mark, if you are reading this, you showed the patience and judgment a Harris should. The key opens the lake house study. What you find there is your true inheritance. Use it well. I am proud of you. Grandpa. I put the note back in the envelope and let out a long breath. Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. What do I do next? That is up to you, he said. The foundation will need your attention, board meetings, and investment decisions, but none of it is urgent. Your grandfather arranged a smooth transition. I thought it over. I want to keep a low profile until the divorce is completely final. Understood, he said. There is one wrinkle. He slid over another page. The foundation's annual gala is next month. As the new head of the Harris family, people will expect you to attend. I looked at the invitation. The Harris Cultural Heritage Foundation Annual Gala. Black tie. The usual crowd, local politicians, business owners, and the folks who live for nights like that. A few days later, Brittany asked to meet. We sat across from each other at a quiet coffee shop. You look good, she said. Different, but good. What did you want to talk about, Brittany? I asked. She flinched at the straight question. I wanted to apologize for how it ended. For what I said about you. About us. Apology accepted, I said, flat as a countertop. Is that all? Her eyes widened. Mark, please. I am trying. I made a terrible mistake. I did not know. I never imagined you were wealthy. So that is the mistake? I asked. Not the lying. Not Dylan. Not the years of making me feel small. Just that you did not realize I had money. Color drained from her face. You knew about Dylan? I suspected. Now I know. It was not serious, she said quickly. I was confused. I felt trapped. He made me feel seen and wanted, and I did not feel that at home. You seemed so content with teaching and your woodworking and our simple life. I wanted more. She looked straight at me. And now I see what I threw away. Not the money, Mark. You. Your steadiness. Your kindness. The way you backed me, even when I chased silly plans. I took a sip of coffee and let her words sit. There was a time when I would have given anything to hear that. Now I felt only a quiet sadness for what could have been. The divorce is final, I said. We have both moved on. Have we? She reached for my hand. I pulled mine back before she touched it. We could start over. Clean slate. I know I hurt you, but what we had was real once. It can be real again. I shook my head. No. What we had were two fantasies. Yours was about the person you wanted to become. Mine was about the person I thought you were. Neither of us was honest. That is not true, she said, leaning in. I loved you. I still do. Do you love me? I asked. Or do you love the idea of being Mrs. Harris now, with the life that comes with it? She pulled back like I had slapped her. That is not fair, is it? 2 weeks ago, you could not wait to be rid of me. 2 weeks ago, you could not wait to be rid of me, I said. Nothing has changed except that you learned I have money. Everything has changed, she whispered. I listened to my mother. I listened to Dylan. They filled my head with stories about who I should be. I was wrong. Please, give me another chance. Let me prove it. I studied her face. Maybe there was real regret under the calculation. Maybe not. Either way, it was too late. I am sorry, Brittany. The answer is no. Tears gathered. Is there someone else? Is that what this is? I almost laughed. No, there is no one else. This is about trust. You broke something we cannot repair. Anything can be fixed if both people want it enough. That is the point, I said. I do not want it anymore. I stood, left my coffee half full, and pushed in my chair. Goodbye, Brittany. I hope you find what you are looking for. I did not look back as I stepped outside. Spring air met me on the sidewalk, clean after the rain, with a smell like new lumber. For the first time in months, I felt light. I drove straight to Rochester East High School and parked as my afternoon class was letting out. The kids spilled into the hallway with the usual noise and energy. A few stayed behind to ask about the test or to talk through some drama from lunch. Ordinary things. They felt good. After the last student left, I graded papers. Circle a grammar slip. Write a quick note in the margin. Move to the next. The work cleared my head. This was the real part of my life. No drama with Brittany, no talk of inheritances. Just a teacher trying to help. Principal Karen Mitchell appeared in my doorway as I signed the last essay. Mark, do you have a minute? Of course, I said, setting down the red pen. What is going on? She stepped in and closed the door. I just received an interesting call from the Harris Cultural Heritage Foundation. They want to fund a new history program for our district. State-of-the-art classroom resources, guest speakers, field trips, the whole package. She watched my face. They specifically named you as the teacher to lead it. I kept my expression steady. That is surprising. I do not know anyone there. Maybe so, she said with a small smile that told me she was not entirely convinced. Either way, it is a wonderful opportunity for our students. I told them we would be thrilled to accept. That is great news, I said. The kids will get a lot out of it. Yes, she said, hand on the knob. They will. And Mark, whatever is happening in your life, I hope it works out for the best. After she left, I sat a long time and thought about masks and names and the parts we all play. There was the version of me who taught history and fixed broken desks. There was the heir my grandfather had trained in quiet ways. Both were real. Brittany had rejected one without ever knowing the other existed. That was on her. 3 days later, the phone rang while I was at the lake house, sanding an old writing desk I had found in one of the storage rooms. Mr. Harris, the caller said, all business. Or should I say, Mr. Harris of the Family Trust? Mr. Harris is fine, I said, setting down the sandpaper. What can I do for you, Mr. Lawson? My client, Mrs. Harris, is concerned about the divorce settlement, Michael Lawson said. Specifically, about assets that were not disclosed. She is considering legal action to reopen the agreement. I had expected this. I disclosed all assets that were mine to disclose under the name Mark Harris, I said. That is what the law required. You were aware of your inheritance when we negotiated, he said. I was aware that a family trust might someday activate, I said. At the time of our divorce, I had no access to those assets and no control over them. They were not mine to list. A semantic distinction at best, he said, voice tightening. Mrs. Harris feels misled. She is welcome to try, I said calmly. Before you file anything, read the Harris Family Trust documents. The trust was established in 1948 with very specific rules about marital claims. It activates only after a divorce is final and only if there are no outstanding legal or financial ties to a former spouse. If Brittany had contested the divorce or pursued alimony, the trust would have remained dormant. Silence while he took that in. Furthermore, I said, the trust and the foundation assets have never been held in my personal name. They are separate legal entities tied to my maternal line and managed by trustees. Samuel Whitaker has all records ready if this goes to court. You planned this, Michael said at last, a mix of anger and reluctant respect. The quick timeline. Giving her everything. I planned to protect my family's legacy, I said. As for giving Brittany everything, that was honest. I wanted a clean break and nothing else. He let out a long breath. I will discuss options with my client. Off the record, Mr. Harris, this is not likely to go anywhere. Your grandfather's attorneys were very thorough. They have had generations of practice, I said. Good day, Mr. Lawson. I ended the call and went back to the desk. The steady rasp of sandpaper on old wood settled me. Some things can be restored if you put in the time. Trust is not always one of them. The next day, a text from Brittany lit up my phone. You lied to me for years, pretending to be someone you were not. I am going to fight this. You owe me. I did not answer. There was no point. Michael would explain the limits of the law, and she would realize the plan had backfired. I turned my focus to the foundation gala. New suit ordered. Guest list reviewed. Speech drafted. Samuel Whitaker set up meetings with key board members so I could be introduced properly to the people who had managed my grandfather's work in his absence. They are impressed by your background in education, Whitaker said after one meeting. Your grandfather always said you had a natural way with students. They believe you will bring a clear voice to the foundation school programs. That is the goal, I said. There is a lot we can do, especially for districts that do not have much. The day before the gala, I submitted my resignation at Rochester East High School, effective at the end of the school year. Principal Mitchell accepted it with a knowing smile. I had a feeling this was coming, she said. The Harris Foundation's new education director will have plenty to do. You knew? I asked. She laughed. Mark, I have been in education for 30 years. I know how to do homework. The timing of your divorce, the sudden interest from the foundation. It was not hard to connect the dots. She patted my hand. Your secret is safe with me, and I expect our school to be at the front of the line for grants. Absolutely guaranteed, I said. It felt like a relief to be known fully by someone and still accepted. Maybe that was what I had always wanted from Brittany, to be seen as I am and loved anyway. She was not built for that. The Harris Cultural Heritage Foundation Gala took place at the Rochester Museum of Art, a building my great-grandfather helped fund a century ago. I arrived early to walk the rooms before the guests came in. Samuel Whitaker met me at the entrance, sharp in a tuxedo that looked exactly like the one he wore when I was a kid. Mr. Harris, he said with a small bow. Everything is ready. The board members are eager to meet you formally, though quite a few remember you from your visits with your grandfather. Thank you, Mr. Whitaker, I said. I appreciate your steady hand through all of this. He nodded, and for once a rare smile creased his face. It has been my honor to serve the Harris family, Samuel said. Your grandfather would be proud of the way you have carried yourself. We strolled through the museum galleries and paused at a few pieces. Small brass plaques credited the Harris Cultural Heritage Foundation for half the rooms we passed. My family name was stamped into a century of art and music and history. After dinner, there will be a short ceremony, Samuel said as we stepped into the main hall. Round tables circled a small stage. Glass glowed under the chandeliers. Just a few words to introduce you as the new head of the foundation. Nothing grand. I have a brief set of remarks, I told him. Simple and to the point. Excellent. Here come our first guests. The night moved in quick clips after that. Handshakes, names, smiles that were practiced, and some that were real. Board members, city officials, business owners, people eager to meet the next Harris in charge. I did the work. Eye contact, small talk. Thank you for coming. During dinner, while I was talking with the museum director, I saw her. Brittany. She stood near the entrance in a black dress that caught the light like water. She was not on the list. I had checked. Either someone brought her as a guest, or she talked her way in. Our eyes met. She tried a small smile. I did not return it. I excused myself and crossed the room. You should not be here, I said quietly. I needed to see you, she said. You have not returned my calls or messages. Because there is nothing left to say, I told her. Please leave. Not until you hear me, she said, fingers closing on my sleeve. Mark, I made the worst mistake of my life. People deserve a second chance. Not always, I said, easing her hand away. Some choices do not get a do-over. What about forgiveness? She asked. Is that not what your grandfather believed? What your family's charity work stands for? This is not about forgiveness, I said. It is about consequences. You chose your path. Now you live with it. Her face went hard. So that is it. You get to play the wounded husband, step into millions, and leave me with nothing after 8 years. You received exactly what you asked for, I said. The house, the car, everything. What else do you want? You, she hissed. Her voice cracked. The man I married. The man I loved. That man is gone, I said. Maybe he was never real. She laughed, sharp and thin, and a few nearby tables turned their heads. Then this is your revenge. Parading your new life in front of me. No, I said. This is not about you at all. That was the part you never understood. My life does not orbit you. Mr. Harris, Samuel said, appearing right on cue. They are ready for your speech. Thank you, I said. I turned back to Brittany and kept my voice even. Goodbye, Brittany. Do not contact me again. I walked away. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her slip through a side door, the black dress vanishing into a dim hallway. Good evening, I said from the podium a minute later, looking out over the crowd. Thank you for being here. I am grateful and humbled to serve as the new steward of the Harris Cultural Heritage Foundation. The words landed the way I hoped. I spoke about honoring my grandfather's work and bringing fresh energy to education. I promised more support for local artists. I talked about preserving Rochester's history. Plain words. Honest words. The applause sounded warm, not polite. More handshakes followed. More congratulations. A few guests mentioned they had seen Brittany leave and asked if all was well. I brushed it off as a simple mix-up and changed the subject. There was no reason to air our laundry in public. Near midnight, the room thinned out. Staff began clearing tables. I stood by a wide window and looked down at the museum garden. The sky was clear, stars bright over the city. For the first time in a long time, I felt still. She will not trouble you again, Samuel said, stepping beside me. His timing was exact as always. Security has been briefed. If she tries to approach you at the foundation or at any official event, they will guide her out, polite, but firm. Thank you, I said. I doubt she will try again. Brittany knows when to cut her losses. Indeed. He paused. Your grandfather faced the same thing after your grandmother passed. People who wanted his company for the Harris name, not for the man. How did he handle it? I asked. With the same quiet dignity you showed tonight, Samuel said. He knew that real relationships cannot be bought. Friendship, love, loyalty, those are earned by character and actions. I thought about my students. I thought about Principal Karen Mitchell. The few friends I had kept over the years never cared about my last name or the size of a checkbook. They cared about who I was. Your grandfather would be proud, Samuel said, giving my shoulder a brief pat. Very proud. A week after the gala, a letter arrived by courier at the lake house. Brittany's handwriting on the envelope was as familiar as my own. For a moment, I considered sending it back unopened. Curiosity won. Inside was a single sheet of heavy paper covered in her neat, looping script. Mark, I will not bother you again after this. I promise. I could not say these things when we met. First, I am truly sorry. Not only for leaving, but for how I treated you while we were married. You deserve better. You deserved someone who saw your patience, your steadiness, and and your integrity. I ignored those things until it was too late. Second, Dylan is gone. I know that does not matter to you now, but he disappeared the moment that article about you appeared. His so-called cryptocurrency ventures were mostly talk. He has already moved on to his next target. My mother says I should have known better. For once, she is right. Lastly, I hope you find real happiness. I hope you meet someone who loves you exactly as you are, not for what you have or what you can give. I believed I was that person once. I wish it were still true. With regret and love. Brittany. I folded the letter and slid it back into the envelope. I walked to my grandfather's desk, opened the bottom drawer, and placed it beside the folder that held everything about Brittany and our marriage. A chapter closed and filed with the past. That evening I sat on the dock behind the lake house and watched the sunset throw gold and red across the water. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon. There would be rain by morning. My phone buzzed. A text from Samuel Whitaker. Foundation Board approved your proposal for the new education initiative. Congratulations. I smiled and typed a simple thank you. The initiative would fund history programs in public schools across the county, putting real tools in the hands of teachers like me. People working with small budgets and big hearts. It was only the beginning of what I planned to do with the Harris legacy.